Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I am Jayson.
And we are father
and son.
Jayson, what are we talking about today, sir?
We're talking about the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah, all three of them.
All three of them.
This is Jayson's first time watching through all of these.
Yeah, I think I've seen like the first one or something.
But a
Maybe
long
once.
time ago.
A long time ago.
So, the Spider-Man you have mostly grown up with, and this will probably be weird for a lot of people because, obviously, most people on the channel are quite a bit older than you, Jayson. I don't know if you know this, but 10, 11, not really the target demographic of our audience.
Not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And so, obviously, most of our audience grew up with this trilogy or, watched it when they were already grown up, but would have, seen this first. And your main Spider-Man has been the MCU Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that.
Oh, are you not?
Yeah, I actually...
You don't like Homecoming?
I mean, they're good movies.
But you don't think of it as your Spider-Man?
As my Spider-Man.
Okay, what is?
Well, when I was a kid, I really liked the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy.
You mean when you were little?
When I was really little.
When you're 11,
but,
you can't say when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was little, but I don't remember that series at all.
No, say that again. Which one?
The Amazing Spider-Man series.
Oh, okay, yeah. Which is what you're wearing right
Which is what I'm wearing
Yeah.
right now. But that's what I did when I was little. But now it's kind of just like the comic Spider-Man.
Yeah, sure.
Like, that's kind of just the one that I like.
Well, and you've read some Stan Lee and stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you've gone all the way back and started at the beginning.
Yeah.
And read some stuff. That's really cool. So how do you feel about the Raimi Spider-Man just as an adaptation of that stuff? Like, now that you've seen this trilogy, would you think of this as a better on-screen version than Amazing? Or than the MCU Spider-Man? Or if not better, just is it a better representation for you of what Spider-Man is? Like would you say now maybe this is your on-screen Spider-Man?
Well, yeah, I
Kinda?
either this or the MCU. Cuz I mean the MCU is what's going on right now for Spider-Man. For live action Spider-Man. So,
Well, I know you liked Far From Home a lot. I remember you
Yeah.
really enjoying, everything with Mysterio and all of
yeah.
that.
But I don't think those movies are as good as these movies.
Interesting.
I don't like that, like...
I don't agree with that.
I don't like that the webs are actually powers.
Yeah, fair enough. Is that weird?
That's weird.
You don't like the organic webbing?
Yeah. And... Also,
is it just kind of gross, or or is it just because it's not what it was?
It's not what I'm used to.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't always make a thing bad, right?
No, it doesn't, but it's just weird. Like, and also, he does, so I watched this video where, this guy watched, the first Spider-Man movie in, like, 0.25 speed. And he could spot a lot of weird stuff.
Oh.
So he actually made that hand motion when he, in that cafeteria scene. But then he, like, couldn't figure out how to do it. And this is something that, like, you're not very used to doing. So I don't know how he actually just does that.
So it is contrived, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing against that guy. I wouldn't need to slow it down to have thought of that because that's what you have to do in the logic of that movie for it to come out. That's the biology, right? At that point, right?
Yeah.
It's that he has a little thing on his wrist that has happened biologically that if you put your fingers in a certain place, it shoots webs out. Yeah. Okay, it's like this because that's what it looks like in the comics. In the comics, it's like that because it's a web shooter, and that's where the trigger is for the web shooter.
Yeah.
In the movie, you do that, and that's what makes it come out. Well, if in that scene, we want him to accidentally shoot webbing out for the first time, how else is his hands going to go?
Yeah.
Because that's how it shoots out. And to say it's weird that he couldn't come up with that later, I don't agree with that because, as you say, it's not a normal thing for a person to do. So he might not even realize how it's an accident, right? Like, yes, contrived a little bit, but I could see that too. Where it's like you accidentally do that,
Yeah.
and then it shoots out. You're like, wow, how did I even do that? And then later he's up on a roof going, Shazam and all of that, trying to make it work. Yeah. You go Webb, go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's interesting. What other things did he find?
I only saw like half of the video.
Okay.
But he actually found one scene. I think it's where he saves Mary Jane. It's in no other scene you actually see where the web shooter comes out. Like in no other scene.
What do you mean where it comes out?
Like you can actually see it. Like if you slow it down.
Oh, where specifically on the wrist it comes out?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And in like no other scene.
Well, you notice the makeup, right?
Yeah.
That there's like a little splotch.
Yeah.
That's where it's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Well, you ready to talk about the movies?
Yeah.
So we watched all 3 of them, and we thought, like the Back to the Future series, we would just do one video, and Jayson would give his immediate reactions to the franchise. So obviously, we're not going to be as detailed as we would be if we were breaking these down and doing a whole hour on each movie. And I have said my piece on these numerous times. So most of you guys probably have heard me talk about this in rewinds and in commentaries, etc., etc. So we're going to mostly listen to Jayson. I will fill in where he needs me to, and I will ask Jayson some questions. So let's go ahead and start there. Jayson, of the 3, which is the best of those films?
So, my favorite is actually the first one. So Spider-Man 2 is really good. There's just, I don't know, there's just not much to say about it. It's just a good movie. And when I was watching it, I thought it was actually kind of boring.
Interesting.
Like,
did you think it was too long and bloated, or
no? I actually thought it was too short.
You thought it was boring and short?
Yeah.
So Peter is brilliant but lazy, and the movie is short but boring.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you want from it that it didn't give you then?
I kind of wanted to like Octavius a little bit better.
Interesting.
I actually don't like him that much.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
I'm not a big fan of that character.
So the big selling point for a lot of people with that movie, and keep in mind the time it comes out in. So 2004, we had not had a ton of superhero movies yet. We're about to get into a lot more Marvel movies before MCU in the mid-2000s. As I've always said, in a period that people thought of as the superhero onslaught, because we'd never had this many before we got to the real superhero onslaught post-2008, when like people did not know what was coming. When we ended up with 4 to 5 to 6 of these things a year, and some of them from the same continuity. So with Spider-Man 2, a lot of people said, finally, a sympathetic villain. Here's a guy who has his heart in the right place. Besides Magneto. Magneto, to some degree, is also a sympathetic villain. We'd had 2 X-Men movies by then. But this was a guy who didn't have any sinister motives at all. He was trying to create renewable energy for everyone, and he had some kind of typical mad scientist hubris, and accidentally allowed an AI to take over his mind, and the AI was programmed to want the fusion to happen as much as he did, and so it controls him to do that at no matter the cost. So was it that you didn't appreciate his motivations or the kind of like arm mind control thing or whatever, or did you feel like he didn't have enough screen time, or what was it about Octavius you didn't like? Because you are in the minority.
I kind of thought he had too much screen time.
Interesting. Okay. You have a really interesting take on this.
Yeah. So basically, I think that he, I don't really get. And
keep in mind, this is on a first viewing.
Yeah, I don't really get the whole energy thing.
Okay.
And I also...
So he's trying to create a fusion reaction.
Yeah.
That will do what the sun can do in a microcosm, like on just in his laboratory, and then use that to create clean renewable energy,
Yeah.
where you wouldn't need fossil fuels anymore, and you wouldn't need to pollute the air and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
That's what he's trying to do.
Okay.
And it has a magnetic effect, and it's difficult to do it without it being really unstable. And so you remember it like magnetized everything, metal in the room, and it risked blowing up, we're told, half the city.
Yeah. So he's basically Thanos.
Well, no, that's very different. But yes, it would have blown up half the city.
So also this part is kind of contrived. I don't know why you need I know why, but I don't know why you don't need to keep it hidden. Like the light thing in his back.
Yeah, that's
you need to
the inhibitor chip.
Yeah, you need to keep that hidden so it doesn't
So you couldn't throw something at it and break it?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
which is literally what happens.
I believe I complained about that when I did the rewind years ago, and I've always thought that was silly.
Yeah.
Now, in the movie's defense, it's not actually something from the outside that hits it and breaks it. So it's silly that it's exposed, but the fact that it's exposed isn't really why it shorts out. I noticed this on this viewing, where there's an electric current that goes through him because of the messed up fusion reaction, and it shoots up his spine, and it's like shorting out everything. And when it gets to the top, it shorts out the inhibitor chip. So the issue isn't that it's exposed, it's that it's trying to show you that visually without having to tell you about it. So having it on the outside allows you to see it blow up. And that's why it's there. It's not quite as bad as I used to think it is. But it is still silly that it's exposed like that, because something else could have broken it.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you build a thing like that, you'd think, well, if I know that this, it's curious that you would build a thing where you're like, this AI could control my mind, and I have this thing that keeps it from happening.
Yeah.
That is almost more contrived even than the fact that it's outside, that he doesn't just, think that he's got them programmed to where they can't control him.
Yeah. Because, I
think
didn't
that's too
really
risky.
get that whole, I'm not a scientist, and I am a very, very limited computer programmer, so I don't know much about the whole AI thing.
Yeah. Neither does this movie.
Yeah, I kind of really didn't get the whole AI thing.
Yeah.
And
well, it's
that's
simply
part
that,
of why I don't like his character.
It's simply that the arms are an artificial intelligence that takes him over and makes him do what they want. But interestingly, what they want is what he wanted in the first place, because he programmed them that way. So they are artificially intelligent, but it's not like Terminator, where they're have the artificial intelligence take over mankind. Mm-hmm. And we do whatever it is we come up with that we want. The arms still want the thing he wanted in the first place that he built them for.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think of Molina's performance? Because I think he's spectacular.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. I just don't really like his character that much.
How much exposure have you had to Dr. Octopus as a character? Do you know anything about that character in the first place?
I might have seen the Dr. Octopus episode in the 90s Spider-Man show.
Well, he's in a lot of that show, but
yeah,
you mean an episode, yeah.
An episode.
Because, and this is interesting, a lot of people that don't know anything about Spider-Man liked him a lot too, but I find him more interesting in comparison to other versions of Doc Ock. I might have had more of your reaction, maybe, I don't know, had I never had any exposure to that character, because comic book-wise, he's not usually a very sympathetic character. He is usually more kind of, a straight-up egotistical, evil, maniacal villain.
Yeah, and I don't really, I kind of haven't, I haven't really been exposed to that much.
Okay, well, you said your favorite is the first one.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us why?
I just like the whole plot. I like Green Goblin a lot. I like Bonesaw a lot.
Nobody says no to me here!
I'm out, am I?
Out, am I? Back to formula. And then what's the big line that the kind of ghost of him sort of in 2 and 3 has? Avenge me!
Oh, yeah, avenge me. I can't, when I look back at those lines, I only looked at Spider-Man 1, so.
Do you remember the outtake in 3 where Defoe just stands there in front of the mirror and he flops up a line and then he just goes, avenge me! He's amazing.
Yeah. He's probably, he's my favorite character.
There are rumors he's coming back for 3.
Really?
For MCU Spider-Man 3.
Oh.
Because there's rumors that everybody's coming back, and he's the only one I really care about. Like, I don't really need... We don't know what this is yet. I don't really need a multiverse movie that brings in all these characters from these movies again. That is the one exception, though. I would like... And I don't even need it to be that version. It'd be really nice if it was just him playing it again, like a newer version.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I want Defoe playing that character again.
Well, he has to say avenge me, though.
Avenge me!
I don't even know how that works, though, because he's dead.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, because the rumor is, and I don't want to get too into current events and stuff, but the rumor is that some actors are coming back to play the same villains they did before, but new versions of them in the MCU.
Oh, okay.
And some are coming back to play the actual characters from the universes that they were in. It's very confusing. So, like, Electro is supposed to be the same actor, but not actually the Amazing Spider-Man 2 version, like a different version. But the rumor we're hearing is that, like, Molina's Doc Ock would be the same Doc Ock. It's very strange, and nobody knows what to make of this yet.
Yeah.
And he's also dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't understand any of this yet.
Yeah.
And by the time this comes out, because we're shooting these weeks in advance, we may have more information already. So this is us in March of 2021 recording, but this may not come out until a few months from now. So.
And apparently, Jim Carrey turned down the role. For what? For Norman Osborn.
Oh, I've never heard
Spider-Man
that.
2 and 2.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. Apparently, he turned down the role.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Because at that point in his career, I don't know that he wouldn't have just done his, like, standard flamboyant Jim Carrey thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting away from that in some things. He'd already done The Truman Show and Man on the Moon by then. But, you know, this would have been just a couple... You're talking about Spider-Man 2? That's right...
For Spider-Man...
Or Spider-Man 1, because you're talking about Osborn. That would have been a couple of years before Yes Man? Yes? No, that would have been Bruce Almighty, period. Bruce Almighty comes out in 03? 02? 03?
Yeah.
Right around the same time, yeah. Interesting, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing some research. You're teaching me something about movies that I've been talking about for a decade or more.
Yeah.
What else about Spider-Man 1 did you really like?
I
mean, that put it over the top for you with the other two.
Let me think.
Like, was it just kind of the original or the initial, like, you know, creation of the world and the characters and stuff, and then once you had that...
And I also really like Aunt May.
Yeah.
In all of the movies.
Do you?
Yeah, she's great.
Rosemary Harris.
Yeah.
She was a stage actress.
Oh.
Who had done movies and stuff, too, but was mostly a stage actress. And I say why she's still around. I don't know if she's acting now, but she's like 93, I think.
Oh, wow. Let me think. So I kind of just like the plot. I like Tobey Maguire.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Do you like him all the way through? Or do we get to a place where... Do you agree with people that say he gets way too whiny and cryy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I don't like him at all in Spider-Man 3.
But you didn't find him that way in the first movie?
No.
Do you feel like, compared to other versions of Spider-Man you've seen, that he is quippy and jokey enough in the costume? Because that's a thing that people talk about with these movies.
Yeah.
Because he's only kind of got token moments where he does
Kind
that.
of more in the first movie than in the last two.
But did you buy that it was the same character? Because he doesn't seem like a real, quippy kind of character until he puts the costume on. And he's not doing enough of it where I've ever been able to really buy that it's like he sheds his inhibitions when he's in the costume. It always seemed to me, and I don't mean to pressure you into my opinion, but it's always seemed to me, Jayson, that he just quips occasionally in the mask because that's what Spider-Man is supposed to do. It doesn't feel like it really comes from a place.
Yeah.
That's how I've always felt about it. I actually think that whole thing is maybe a little bit better in 2.
Yeah.
Personally, but that was the thing I never bought in 1.
Yeah.
Even when it came out. What do you think of just, basic production values and score and stuff? Like, the way the movie looks, the way it sounds?
I don't like the CGI in 1.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, of course it's 2002, but it doesn't look good.
Too rubbery, or just doesn't look well integrated to you? All of it?
Mostly the Spider-Man suit. And the Green Goblin suit.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay. Do you think that mask is too silly?
Yes. Yes.
What, in your opinion, should they have done?
Maybe given it some color. I mean, I know that's not, like, what it was. But, like, the face, they could have, like, not made it just, like, green.
You think that would have helped? Because I think the bigger issue is just that it's a big goofy expression, and then the actor has to act behind that mouth, where you can see his mouth behind the mouth.
Yeah, and actually, in that same video that I watched, there's one part where he's not talking, and the voice actor is talking.
Weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I might know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is it, because I think I've noticed that just watching it at regular speed. Is it in, if we're talking about the right scene, is it during the festival?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Where they go like close up to his face and you can see the mouth clearly not moving.
So I know you've only watched this once. You said you liked the plot, but has it ever occurred to you that Green Goblin's ultimate plan is kind of non-existent? That, like, he's kind of just a crazy person flying around doing stuff? So he is a crazy person, and the movie kind of, I think, relies too much on just, psychoticness to move the story along.
Yeah, so, it's a crazy alternate personality.
Yeah, but what does the alternate personality want? Because the alternate personality sort of, and there's actually a comparison to be made with the Doc Ock arms. The Doc Ock arms want what their creator wants and thinks that they're doing what's best for him and I guess everyone else. The same is sort of true with Green Goblin, where it's although I think the Ock arms care less about Octavius and more about just the experiment, right? Yeah. With not Octavius, pardon me, with Osborn. Why does everything have to start with O? With Osborn, it's a personality that thinks it's helping Norman's career and giving him what he wants. So when he does the experiment on himself, but both of these are about scientific experiments. And the third movie, curiously, does not have any of that. I guess there's an experiment done. Not even really an experiment. We do some science on the Venom symbiote to try to figure out what its properties are with Doc Connors, but beyond that, we don't really have another bad guy with a science experiment. So there's a lot of formulaic in 3 that continues with the same formula we had in 1 and 2, but I guess that's not a part of it, interestingly. I've never talked about the 3 of these as a whole before like this, so it's interesting. But anyway, so he does that experiment on himself, and he, in order to get the stabilizers working for, so that his mind can control the glider, right? Mm-hmm. And it gives him that insane personality. What does the personality want, Jayson? Like, what does it try to do for Osborn at the festival? Out am I?
Yeah, he's trying to get, like, revenge, right?
Right. On who?
On his, like, team?
The board.
The board, right?
Of directors, right?
Right.
What does he do to the board of directors?
He tries to kill him.
He does kill them.
Oh, yeah.
What does he do? He throws a pumpkin bomb at them?
Yeah.
And they disintegrate and you see their skeletons.
Oh, yeah.
So it gets what it wants the first time it flies out and does anything. What is it doing the rest of the movie?
I don't know.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
It is exactly like Whiplash in Iron Man 2. He gets what he wants, and in the rest of the movie, he's just doing stuff.
Yeah, he's just there, just doing whatever. Like, I don't even... Yeah.
That's my biggest issue with that movie. And I don't love Mary Jane, but she's not awful like she is in 2 and 3. Like, I can see the prototype of what she was supposed to be in that movie. And then after that, and I won't harp too much on this because I've talked about it so much, but then after that with 2 and especially 3, which is god-awful with this, it's just a bunch of lack of communication that if only people were acting like real people and talking to each other, even with as selfish as each of those are in different places in those scenes, you would not have the kind of drama that you have. It's as contrived as some of the things we've already been talking about.
Yeah.
In other parts of the stories, but. And
actually, more on Doc Connors. That was actually leading up to the Lizard. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man 4 was going to have the Lizard.
Supposed to. That's what I've heard too. Yeah.
Raimi got out of it.
It seemed like every movie they were telling that actor, like, don't worry, we are getting to the Lizard. And I don't think they would have bothered to give him a missing arm if they weren't leading to the Lizard.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that, but he doesn't. He's got a missing arm. That's always a Doc Connors thing.
Yeah.
Do you know the thing with the Lizard?
I know he takes some weird drugs or something.
Yeah, so he makes a serum in order to try to grow his arm back.
Oh, yeah.
And it's lizard DNA because lizards are able to... I always thought it was a good idea that Stanley had. Lizards are able to, like, regrow their tails. Yeah. So he's using those properties to try to regrow human limbs. And that's what we do in Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Except that gets really overblown, and it turns into a plot where... Because that ends up being another Jekyll Hyde thing. And ends up with a plot where the lizard personality takes over, and then he wants to turn the whole city into lizard people.
Wait, what?
You don't remember that?
Nope.
That's the third act of that movie. He tries to turn everybody into lizard people.
Oh,
He's got a cloud seeder, and then it starts turning people into lizard people. Just like Magneto at the end of the first X-Men movie tries to turn all the humans into mutants. It's that same plot again. These things always come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the struggle in 2 where Peter can't go anywhere, like on time.
Yeah.
Because he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I like that whole thing. And then
that's traditional old school Stanley Peter Parker stuff where he's trying to balance his superhero life with his personal life.
And MJ gets really mad at him.
And he has regular people problems. And that's the big thing that I have a hard time dealing with in Spider-Man 2 is there's just no communication between them.
Yeah.
So she's justified to a degree in being upset with him for not showing up if he never tried and she doesn't believe him when he says he did. But, like, it's pretty clear that he tried to get there that one time. I don't know why he doesn't go another time. Again, it's a lot of contrivance just to, like, create drama and make it difficult for those two characters to get together. Because there's a part later in the movie where she's like, she gives a laundry list of all the people in her life that have been and seen the play, and I'm like, you've had some downtime between the first time you tried and now. I don't know why you haven't gone. So, like, that's weird. But the night he went, she's like, you know, don't disappoint me, be there. And then he gets there a few minutes late, and then there's the usher that won't let him in.
Yeah.
Who's Bruce Campbell, who's in all 3 movies as different characters. And the rumor was, and I don't know how true this was, that eventually it was supposed to be revealed that he in fact was the same character all the way through, and it was Mysterio pretending to be different people. And Bruce Campbell was going to be Mysterio. Yeah. So he's the announcer in Spider-Man 1 that comes up with the name Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 2, where he's like, the human spider, he's like, oh, that sucks. He's the amazing Spider-Man. And then in 2, he is the usher. And then you know who he is in 3?
No.
In 3, he's the Frenchman at the restaurant with...
Oh, my.
Yeah, with the wedding ring. Or with the engagement ring. He's on all 3 of them. And then apparently, allegedly, later on, it was gonna be revealed that he was Mysterio the whole time.
That whole thing is so funny. I actually kind of forgot about that. Because he says bye to all his friends, and he's like, "Okay, let's go."
But Peter, when he's trying to explain it to Mary Jane on the phone later on her answering machine, he's like, "Well, there was this obnoxious usher," and I'm like, "I know you don't think you can tell her you're Spider-Man because you think that would put her in danger, but you can't at least say." I got almost run over by a car in the middle of a big chase. Like, why can't you say that his bike got run over? Did you notice the sheer number of times in that movie where really dangerous things are contrived to happen? I don't know how many people just get like run over and murdered in this town. Like, it must have a way crazier crime rate and death rate than even the real New York City does, because he in that movie is constantly almost getting killed if he was a regular person. Like, if he's not Spider-Man, he dies like 4 times in that movie. He gets his moped run over.
Well, and Mary Jane dies way more times than that. In one scene.
Oh, in 3?
Yeah.
Well, in that, I just don't even buy this. She survives. That's a whole other story. But in 2, he's on his way to the play. Mm-hmm. And he's driving very leisurely, which means he's on time, right? He's like, I'm riding, I'm fine, I'm on time. And then he gets, there's like bank robbers or something that are like fleeing from the police, and he gets his moped run over, and then he does a Spider-Man leap, and he lands on the ground, and that's when he tells those kids to eat their vegetables, right?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of a fun moment. And like, he's not even being Spider-Man in that scene. Like, he survived it, and she wasn't there, so he wouldn't have to tell her that he used his powers. And other people saw him do it, and nobody's like, oh, that guy must be Spider-Man. So why can't he just say, there was this crazy extenuating circumstance, and I can prove it to you because my moped got run over and wrecked. Like, why not tell her that?
Yeah.
And then she's probably more reasonable after that. It's just this complete breakdown in communication.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get into all that with 3, but that's the stuff that drives me insane in that movie.
Yeah.
And then the other big one is Doc Ock is supposed to bring Peter to Harry Osborn. And again, there's this giant, lack of communication where Harry thinks that Peter, Spider-Man killed his father, and he doesn't find out that that's not true until way too late, and he's, like, super crazy unreasonable about the whole thing, and I get that he's sad that his dad died, and there's this whole psychology.
He got it from his gilder.
But, again, contrived is the word of the day. It just always felt like these characters have these motivations, and it's because it creates drama, and they have them. Some of them have them in the comics, and they're supposed to have that. So anyway, Harry Osborn tells Doc Ock, go get Peter. He can find Spider-Man for you, and because I want Spider-Man, and then I'll give you your tritium so that you can do your science experiment again. And he says, okay. And as he's leaving, Harry yells, don't hurt Peter.
Don't hurt Peter, yeah.
So what does he do?
He hurts Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How? Like, in the most insane way possible.
Yeah,
he shows
throws
up
a car at him.
through a window. Not knowing Peter Parker is Spider-Man. If you knew he was Spider-Man and you're just getting his attention, that's one thing, because you know he'll survive that. Even if you hit him with it, he's got proportional strength of Spider. He heals fast, you know he'll make it.
And he's not even surprised that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Either. Like, when he finds out, he's just like, Parker. And then it's just like...
Well, he shouldn't be that surprised. He just survived all these crazy things he threw at him.
Yeah.
But, like, why does he do all these death-defying things to Peter Parker? Like, just to create these big action set pieces. Like, bring me Peter Parker. Okay, I'll throw a car at him through a window. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the stuff in that movie that drives me crazy.
I don't really like, I don't even get the whole, like, is it a dream? The whole, like, Osborn thing, when he comes back in 2, and then it happens again in 3.
So in 3, it makes sense.
Right. Because...
Do you know why?
Wait, why?
So here's the thing. Let me break this down for you. In 1, why is Norman Osborn having those like schizophrenic hallucinations?
Because
where he's talking to another personality of himself.
Because he made himself all strong and stuff.
Because he took that serum, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In 3, Harry Osborn has the serum, so you can see that manifesting as his father as another personality.
Right.
And like maybe a little contrived that it's basically the same personality that his father had in the first place, but it at least makes some kind of sense, right? In 2, it's happening before he's taken the serum.
Yeah.
All you had to do was, and it's really easy to contrive that in a less contrived seeming way. So
you could just make it a dream or something.
No. That's not what I would do.
Okay.
What you do is you have Harry Osborn. I mean, I don't think dream sequences are hardly ever the answer. What you do is you have Harry Osborn in his rage at Spider-Man killing or thinking that Spider-Man killed his father.
Yeah.
You have, or no, I'm sorry, at his rage in finding out that Peter is Spider-Man. We're talking about at the end of 2. He finds out Peter and Spider-Man are the same person. Oh, Peter Parker killed my father, he thinks.
Yeah.
In his rage, he goes back to his house. This is not rewriting it too much. In his rage, he goes back to his father's house. He's freaking out. He's throwing crap all over the place.
Yeah.
He's losing his mind. Oh, Peter Parker is Spider-Man! Ah! And he just throws things everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then he throws something through the wall, or through the glass.
Yeah.
Not because of a hallucination, but because he's freaking out, right? He throws like you know something through that like vase or something through the glass, and then he finds out, oh, my father was here's all my father's Green Goblin stuff, right?
Yeah.
You see vials of serum in there.
Yeah.
He takes the serum. Mm-hmm. His father starts talking to him. Like, it's not hard.
It's not hard.
That's all you have to do. And then in 3, it's still happening. That's all you do.
Yeah.
And that's not really rewriting the story, because once you get to 3, he's going to take the serum anyway.
Yeah.
The big question for me with 3, with the serum, is it seems to selectively affect him.
Yeah.
Because his father's talking to him, and he's kind of crazed, and you can't tell when he is doing nutso things. Oh, just say it. I know what you want to say. I know what you're thinking right now. Just say it. Just say. I'm talking about nutso Harry Osborn in the middle of 3 when he kidnaps Mary Jane. I know what you want to say. Just say it.
I don't even know.
The pie.
Oh yeah, so good. That's actually something that I was gonna talk about after we talked about 3 or 2.
So he's already kind of crazed, even without the serum, because he's beside himself. His best friend, he thinks, has killed his father. That's honestly probably enough motivation as it is, but then he's also got the serum in the mix. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell how much of it is that stuff affecting him, and how much of it is the rage he already had, right?
Yeah.
So then you get to the end of the movie, and he finds out that his father killed himself with his own glider. And suddenly he's, oh buddy, old pal,
I'm coming,
old buddy, old pal. Yeah, and I mean, like, we're ripping off the how it should have ended on that, because that's what it feels like. And he even says buddy in that scene, like it's just suddenly they're best friends again. So now is he magically no longer affected by the Goblin Serum?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And also.
But to be fair, that whole movie has myriad, lacking in sense issues and contrivance issues and convenience issues and.
So that pie scene, is
so good.
Is actually kind of contrived because
do tell.
Because after he says so good, you see Peter walking, and he looks back, and right as he looks back, Then Harry Osborn sees that he's looking back, but he's literally to the back of him. Like, they're like, so basically, Spider-Man is walking out, and through the window, he sees, Harry Osborn's back.
Uh-huh.
So, Harry can't see that Peter is looking at him. And he looks at Peter and winks at him.
And why does he even, you said this when we were watching it, why does he even wink at him?
Why
doesn't he just reveal it as they're having, like as they're having coffee together?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Oh my god.
Because he's acting like it's still a ruse. It's kind of that BVS Lex Luthor thing, where in one moment it's like he's trying to be a like covert manipulator, and then later he just basically comes right out and says, "I want to kill Superman." In this, to the senator, to Finch. In this, it's the same thing, where it's like they're having coffee or whatever together, and pie is so good, and then he's like he's like, well, I'm the other guy. I'm the reason that Mary Jane.
Well, and also, Peter didn't even say that she was going with some other guy. She was just saying that she was, like, just broken up with him. Oh,
I think he said, like, maybe there is another guy or something, and then he was like, oh, yeah, that's me. Like, yeah, no, everything about that is... The only thing worse than the way that scene is written is the bridge scene right after it.
Oh.
Spider-Man! Okay. Do you have a list for us? Do you want to go through some things?
Yeah. I mean, I have gone through most of my stuff already. Just talking about my favorite movie and my least favorite movie.
Favorite character in the entire trilogy? As a piece, if we can look at it that way.
Probably Aunt May, actually.
Wow.
I really like her character. Like, a lot.
Do you like her "There's a Hero in All of Us" speech?
Yeah.
In Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
You know what I hate about that scene, though?
Yeah.
She throws away Peter Parker's comic books. Or she gives them away. She's like, where's my comics? And she goes, oh, those dreadful things, I gave those away. And then 2 minutes later, she talks about how children need heroes to look up to.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I never thought of that. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I'm with you, though. She's straight off the page, Aunt May.
Yeah.
You're not Superman, you know. Oh, my favorite Aunt May line in the entire franchise, you ready? Those horrible yellow eyes!
Yeah. And then my other favorite character is Norman Osborn. And of course he's in every
You and the rest of the fandom for this for this film series.
Avenge me!
Avenge me!
So, I like MJ in the first movie.
Norman Osborn!
I like MJ in the first movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
She gets bland in, like, the last half of the second movie. I like her in the first half. And
then in 3, you want to punch her in the face repeatedly, right?
She just, yeah. I don't like her. And then my other least favorite character is only in one movie. And it's Eddie Brock.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So Brock. Okay. So even though Brock knows about the whole Venom thing, now that he's got the symbiote.
Okay.
So he's got the symbiote.
Yeah.
And now that he knows that it can, like, make him, like, more mad about stuff. How come, how come he, I mean, I know he has the symbiote.
I don't even know if it makes him more mad about stuff. Like, obviously, it increases the, like, rage and anger with Peter Parker and, like, how he's handling stuff. I don't know if the symbiote really makes Brock that different at all. He says, hey, God, I want you to kill Peter Parker before he ever gets the symbiote.
Yeah.
What does the symbiote do to Brock except give him superpowers?
Well, doesn't it make him more
motivation-wise, method-wise?
About the whole, like, page thing.
On paper.
Newspaper thing.
Maybe on paper.
Yeah.
But I'm just suggesting the way the movie plays, everything he does after that, if you handed him a gun or a baseball bat or anything else, I feel like he might do any of that stuff.
Even if he didn't have the
Even if he wasn't under the influence of a symbiote, yeah.
And he's
like,
just bland.
So,
like, he's not... He doesn't get enough screen time, and he's not that great a character, and I don't like that actor that much. And... yeah,
Topher Grace. I've heard he's good in other stuff. I've never really seen him in anything else, but he was wrong for that part, and it was the incorrect way to do that part. Like,
and I don't believe I'm saying this. Eddie Brock is way better in Venom.
No, yeah. Could you imagine that guy with his own movie? Imagine if we watched that Venom for a whole movie. I get what they're doing with him, where he's supposed to be the opposite of Spider-Man with the responsibility thing, where he's completely irresponsible with everything. He's totally in denial about everything. He pretends like he has a girlfriend who went out with him once and doesn't care about him. You know, he does the kind of classic Eddie Brock thing where he cheats to get a story so that he can get a job. And he's doing that to Peter Parker, and Peter is right that he did the wrong thing, but he doesn't handle it the correct way.
Yeah.
So I had a thought on this viewing that I've never had before with Venom, and now that we're there, I want to talk about it with you. So you said that that you thought that the symbiote was supposed to make Brock was supposed to like increase his rage and make him, you know, more angry and violent about everything, right? And heighten all of that, just like it kind of does with Peter, except in this it just makes Peter like emo and weird and silly, and makes him try to make, you know, girlfriends jealous and stuff.
Well, but it does make him mad about everything. Like the whole like apartment scene and
No, I know you're talking about with Peter.
Yeah.
Peter. Oh no, I know. But it also does other very, very, very silly things. So
yeah, and I do not like the black suit at all. And that's probably that's exactly why this movie sucks. Is because of the symbiote.
Oh, it sucks for lots of reasons, but
no, but if that symbiote wouldn't have fallen out of the sky, then that movie would be at least 30 times better.
And shorter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd always be 30 times shorter. So, but what I was going to say is, so I disagreed with you that it seemed to make at least Brock more ragey. It is, to me, exactly the same thing as Dorian in The Mask.
Yeah.
He puts the thing on, and it makes him seem a little scarier, and maybe not in this case, and he's got... And he's now, you know, got powers behind his motivations, but it doesn't really change him that much. Yeah. I think the fundamental problem, and keep in mind that Sam Raimi doesn't like Venom. He didn't want to have to put Venom in the movie. That's a lot of why it's as lame as it is that it's got people working on it that do not have their heart in it. They don't want to do Venom. The studio makes them do Venom.
Oh.
And that's a lot of why that movie is as bad as it is. But yeah, but I think fundamentally that movie misunderstands what Venom in the comics is. It thinks Venom is the Mask.
Yeah.
It thinks you put it on and it takes your inhibitions away instead of it changes to some degree your motivations because of the motivations of the symbiote. There's a difference there. And it is a similar thing. It does take your inhibitions away to some degree, but it's not the same thing as the Mask. It's not that.
Yeah.
And it also has a similar attitude about it, where it's like, you know, he puts it on and let's have a lot of fun with the crazy things he's gonna do. As far as Peter Parker does, it's the Mask.
Yeah, basically. Except he's not. Except he does not have a mask on.
So ironically, he's not actually wearing it, and most of the time, neither is Eddie Brock.
Yeah. Yeah, why does he need the
Just peels it back all the time.
Yeah, he just peels it back all the time. And
the how it should have ended. Why do you need the scary Venom face if you're just gonna peel it back all the time?
Yeah.
What's with the makeup on him too? It peels back, and just because he still has the symbiote and the rest of the Venom form, he's gotta have sharp teeth that are hard to act through?
Yeah.
So he sounds silly and he's got like half of a lisp now because he's got these big sharp teeth?
Yeah.
Okay.
And why does the Venom face need to be like make it a little bit longer, and please?
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
I actually like what the Venom face looks like. We just don't get it enough.
Yeah.
I had a poster of that on my wall for the longest time. Where
Yeah.
it's a. Do you remember that? It's a shot of the face coming at you. Mm-hmm. Like it does in that movie.
The first time.
I think so. Yeah. And I was.
It is the first time you see that face. And you think
I don't like
that
this movie,
it's
but I like that.
as long as it is in the comics, and then it's not later.
You didn't think it looked McFarlane enough?
No.
Because that's what McFarlane brings to it.
Yeah.
But I had, you don't know this because you weren't around yet, but when I worked at the mortuary, for a long time I had that poster on my refrigerator. It like took up the whole front of the refrigerator. So it's just a big gaping Venom mouth before when you get milk.
What?
I was being silly.
So I know this. I know you will not agree with me at all about this. I think Sandman is the only good thing about 3.
You're wrong.
No,
You're 100% wrong.
I like Sandman. I think
I have a daughter. That makes it okay for me to break the law. Okay, what is good about Sandman? Even though everything is terrible about Sandman.
Okay, so basically, well, there's nothing bad.
This is going to be an uphill battle for you, son. Go ahead.
There's nothing good about him. He's just a good character, and he's a good actor. And
wait, what makes him a good character if there's nothing good about him? I don't.
Shirt.
Well, yeah, he's wearing his standard Sandman shirt from the comic. His shirt. This has already gone off the rails. You're not going to agree with this at all, but I'm going to make the argument. He's got a cool shirt, Dad. What is it you actually like about Sandman? Is it just the first half of the movie?
Yeah, it's just the first half of the movie. I like him. I kind of just... It's when the symbiote actually, falls out of the sky, and then the movie just goes wrong. And Sandman becomes kind of a bad character, and we find out more about him, and then he's just not a very good character.
I think he's bad all the way through, because from the very beginning, it's like, I'm forced to do all these illegal things because my daughter is sick. And, I get, to some degree, we could sympathize even if we don't condone what he does with, I have to steal money because my daughter, needs money for her medical bills or whatever. But there's other things he does.
Yeah.
That where he doesn't take any responsibility for his actions. And in a movie series all about responsibility, I don't think that movie realizes that's what it's doing. That's the problem with it. Yeah. He should have this fatal flaw of, I think the whole world is out to get me, and I feel like I got the raw end of the stick, and maybe to some degree I did, but I am still responsible for my actions. I don't feel like the movie really has that or gets that. That's my problem with it. And then the other thing is the retcon with the origin with him killing Uncle Ben is one of the worst things in superhero movies. It's awful.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you if you thought about this. It ruins the whole responsibility thing with the origin. That's the main problem with it. Besides the fact that just retroactively making that more complicated is pointless and dumb.
Yeah.
But it's what does it add? What is the purpose of it? It's just, we thought we understood the origin. Oh, there's this wrinkle in it that we add later. It feels like, part of it feels like that trilogy thing and that standard film series thing where we cannot get away from the beginning. We're just obsessed with constantly creating more origin with things. It's like the character's never really quite the character you came to see until we're not making any more of them. We do this with so many things, and Spider-Man doesn't exactly have that, but there's a little bit of that too. We still can't get past the origin. So and it just gets sticky when we start asking questions like, Peter sort of looked like a murderer in that first movie, and then Mary Jane brings that up, the movie knows it, but we don't address it properly. It comes up and then it goes away.
Yeah.
But here's the big problem with it, Jayson. So the point of the origin, and it's pretty much the classic, Stan Lee origin. There is a there's a thief who steals money and then goes and ends up murdering Uncle Ben. And in the interim, on his way there to murder, or to where he will ultimately murder Uncle Ben, Peter Parker is in the middle, and he's got superpowers, and he could stop the guy, but he doesn't for selfish reasons. Right? That's the origin. If you make it another guy who is an accomplice who worked with that guy who kills Ben Parker, then it makes no difference whether or not Peter stopped that guy.
Yeah.
He probably would have died for that car anyway.
Yeah.
So it ruins the whole lesson.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, you can say, well, you know, the lesson is still intact for Peter because he didn't know that, but it just overly complicates the whole matter. Like, what is the point of that? So anyway, that's the main reason I don't like Sandman.
Yeah. And I kind of like his actor.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think he would play a pretty good Terminator.
Yep. Oh yeah, you said that while we were watching it.
Yeah.
Is that just because in the face he looks a little bit like the T-1000?
Yeah.
Or is it just because he's got that, you know, kind of like serious or like non-emotional thing going on?
It's kind of both.
Okay. Was there anything else you actually liked about 3?
No, but there's one thing that I don't like about 3.
Well, there's a lot of things you probably don't like about 3. What's that?
That I have to bring up.
Okay.
Brock's death.
Do it up.
So basically, the Venom symbiote doesn't like vibrations. So, Spider-Man's got all these...
It's bad vibrations.
Yeah, so he's got a bunch of poles, and he's like, boom! And he's like, ah! And then Spider-Man's like trying to take Brock out of the symbiote. So he finally takes Brock out of the symbiote. And...
Did you like the big monster mash of Venom? The big like...
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah. So basically, the Monster Mash thing is walking around, and he's, and, like, I'm coming, old buddy, old pal.
Right.
And then he throws the pumpkin bomb at him, and, Brock is so, like, oh, I want to kill Spider-Man, I want to kill, Peter Parker, so he's like, I need the symbiote, and he literally jumps in, and it just makes him and the symbiote just disappear. They just disappear, and you don't see anything.
It's a single pumpkin bomb.
It's a single pumpkin bomb.
When it blew up in Harry's face, it just messed up one side of his face. Because we can't get away from two faces in superhero movies, no matter the franchise. But when it blows up next to a symbiote that doesn't like loud noises, if a human...
And fire.
And fire. Okay, well, it's both. It's a loud noise and fire. I don't know if it's at the same frequency that would mess up the symbiote, but I guess that explosion could mess him up in both ways, right? Mm-hmm. But would it make him disappear without a trace?
And would it make Brock disappear too?
Yeah. And why does Brock jump into it?
I have no idea.
Just because it's the formula where you have two villains and one has to die and the other one has to leave at the end.
I guess.
It really looks like Brock knows that that in this movie he's the villain who dies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then in the how it should have ended, a taxi also disappears. And
there's one. I just thought of this. It's really funny how it should have ended because it also thinks that's silly and they just disappear.
Yeah.
But they died in a totally different situation, but they still just disappeared. So I guess it has one tiny subversion from the two villain formula.
Okay.
Usually, not that it's a cool subversion, but I just thought of this. Usually in the two villain formula, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, etc., you've got a villain who is pre-established, who's there already.
Well, Batman Returns has 3.
costume villains.
Costume.
Yeah, you very often will also have a guy in a suit too. But I'm talking about your costume villains. Batman and Robin has Bane, but that's just a henchman anyway. But stick with me, okay?
Okay.
So, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. You've got a pre-established and other things too. You have a pre-established villain who's been around for a while, and then you have your Two Faces, your Penguins.
Yeah.
It's etc. And then Penguin is a little bit different in that nobody knows about him, but he's been operating like under the sewer for a while, whereas you have an actual origin for Catwoman, right? Yeah. And then you have a new villain who is created in the first place. In this particular case, you have two villains who both have their origins in the same movie, but technically Sandman is more established than Venom because the character is at least doing bank robberies and bad things and stuff before he gets his Sandman powers. Usually, the pre-established character is the one who dies at the end, and it's the brand new character who leaves at the end. In this case, both of them get origins, but the one that is closer to the pre-established villain, I guess, is actually the one that leaves at the end, and the one that gets a real honest-to-God origin is the one who dies.
Yeah.
So this is sort of a subversion, I guess.
Yeah. But they're both kind of the same. Kind of.
They are both kind of the same.
Except, yeah.
Because they do get origins in the same movie, which kind of makes it worse.
They're both pre-established, but they both get origin stories.
They're not both pre-established as bad guys. Brock is not a bad guy yet. I mean,
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I thought you were talking about like the symbiote. Like.
Oh no, I meant Flint Marko is a criminal.
Right. And Eddie Brock isn't.
Because very often it's not a criminal who gets a supervillain origin. It's a person who's not a criminal who becomes a criminal at the same time as they get powers. That's usually what we do. Yeah. In this kind of formula. But anyway, okay. Anything else? We're after an hour. Anything else we really need to make sure and hit? Any like favorite or least favorite moments that we didn't talk about?
Where have you gone, Spider-Man?
Where have you gone, Spider-Man?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else other than that.
That you want to talk about?
That I want to talk about. There's probably a bunch that we did not talk about that you have talked about before.
Absolutely. So 1 is your favorite.
1 is my favorite.
3 is your least favorite.
3 is my least favorite. 2 is... Yeah. It's ranked from what the
So you think it gets progressively worse?
It gets worse, I think.
But you don't think 2 is anything bad?
I don't think 2 is bad.
I just don't care for it as much as 1.
Yeah.
Would you watch this as a trilogy again?
Yeah.
Like if you watched 1 and 2, would you watch 3 or would you skip it?
I would probably watch 3. Probably just for the really funny parts.
Is it a so bad it's good kind of movie? Is it a BVS thing for you
so
or
bad.
It's
and so good.
Oh, it's the Power Glove.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for watching and listening. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again soon with another discussion and or review. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan.
And I was Jayson.
And we were father
and son.
Bye, folks.
Avenge me!